Okay guys, the kettlebell clean. It's a really important movement that we have for an exercise as itself. We can do it for strength endurance, power endurance, but it's also a transitionary exercise. An exercise that allows us to bring the bell into this rack position, that from here I can do my reverse lunges, my overhead presses, my rotational cleans, whatever I want to do. It's a really important position to be able to get nice and strong. So let's break the movement down. How do we do a kettlebell clean? Okay, well first off, let's just get that bell into the rack position. So if you want to use two hands, use two hands, okay? The rack position, we want to have the bell coming across the palm at a nice angle from right in between your thumb and your, what's that, your index finger, I think, or your pointer, and then down to the heel of your palm. From there, try and find a nice little shelf between your shoulder, your elbow, and your wrist. Thumb tight to the clavicle, knuckles to the sky, okay? Make sure you're not collapsed into this position here. If you want to test out if you're strong in this position, thumb to clavicle, push down on your knuckles, okay? Go thumb away from clavicle, push down on your palm, which feels stronger. Guaranteed when we've got a nice lined up wrist to elbow, okay? So there's our rack position, and we want to get used to that before we actually do the clean. Core engaged, nice and strong, glutes working hard, kneecaps pulled up towards the hips, my quads are working hard, my glutes are working hard, and my abs are working hard. This position should feel nice and strong, the weight should feel light, the effort should be distributed throughout the body, okay? So that is the rack position. That's where we're going to ultimately end up from the clean, and we're going to look at two progressions for the clean, okay? We're going to look at your dead clean followed by the swing clean, okay? The dead clean is relatively easy because the trajectory of the bell is vertical and it finishes vertical, okay? What I mean by that is I start vertical and I finish, okay? So all of the power from this movement comes from your legs. So the first thing you're going to do is a couple of reps of just really powerfully pushing up onto your heels. Let that weight float. Once you feel comfortable that you've got the power from the hips, then we can work on letting that kettlebell come up and driving the elbow underneath, okay? So I wouldn't really do this exercise until you have the kettlebell swing. Once you have the kettlebell swing, you know about power being created from the hips. So you should already have that if you're trying this one, okay? So power from the ground. From here, the movement, I'll show you in slow motion, comes up. As it starts to come out of my hips, I'm shrugging and twisting my arm around the bell, okay? So it's almost like I'm zipping up my coat and then driving my elbow to my belly button. Okay? What it is not a bicep curl, okay? I'm not pulling that weight up with my hand. If you feel your arm, you feel your shoulder, you know it's wrong. Stop, re-engineer, okay? The dead clean comes from a dead position that you're standing directly over, and it is by far the easier of the cleans to learn. Just practice powering up from the hips, wrapping your elbow to your belly button. Power from the hips, elbow to belly button, okay? If that's not working, use two hands and just get used to the power coming from your hips as opposed to coming from your shoulders. Hips, elbow to belly button, okay? That's the dead clean, it's much easier. Make that perfect before we move on to the swing clean. So the swing clean is, like it says on the tin, a clean as the bell is swinging, okay? And it's much harder than a dead clean because the trajectory of the bell changes. It starts off going horizontal and it finishes vertical. Okay, so we're going to break this down a couple of ways. First up, I just want you guys to get the idea of the transition. So, horizontal, 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 vertical. Okay? So we want to change the trajectory. I want you to think about a gunslinger. Think about John Wayne, right? Pulling his gun from the hip. And as you power out of your hips, the elbow comes behind your ribs. Gunslinger. Okay? So you're pointing the bell directly in front of you. And what you're going to do is, using a light bell, catch with the second hand so you can really feel that position. Okay? Hike, catch, John Wayne. Gunslinger at the hip. Swing, catch, John Wayne. Swing, catch, John Wayne. Okay? Gunslinger, get that down. Pull the shoulder back. Pull the elbow back behind the ribs. It's got to change from the horizontal to the vertical. Okay? Now, we're going to work on punching through to bring the bell into that rack position, nice and smoothly. Okay? So what happens most of the time with a swing clean is people let it out too far. They don't transition from horizontal to vertical, and it crashes down on them. Crash, okay? Because it's just too far away. So, gunsling, gunsling, then punch, keeping it tight to the body. Okay? Gunsling, punch. Gunsling, punch. All right? And that is the key, changing the trajectory. So, imagine again, once more, we're John Wayne. Gunsling, then John Wayne becomes woke and realizes he's a racist asshole. So he punches himself in the jaw, all right? That's what you're gonna look for. Gunsling, gunsling, punch. And that turns into the clean. Okay? Violent John Wayne, woke John Wayne. Okay? That's what you're thinking. Keep practicing and practicing and practicing and making that as smooth as possible. Then, if you're still hitting yourself, if you're still getting whacked, guaranteed it's that the bell is too far in front of you. So what I want you to do is just practice in front of a wall. Come maybe fists or arm distance away from a wall. And keep walking closer and closer to the wall to practice on keeping it tight, 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 tight to the body, okay? That's the key with our swing clean, is that it stays super tight with the body. Last thing with the swing clean, as it comes down, think just like you would with a single arm swing, it's a hinge. So I'm throwing away, hinge, power, okay? A lot of people try and bring it down with their bicep again, all right? We're letting it go, we're letting it be loose. I like to push it off my body. I like to throw it away from me. Some people like to let the elbow pull back and let it fall down. Whatever you choose to do, make sure it's loose, power, loose, power, loose, power. Okay? There's your dead clean earlier and your swing clean.